1, 2, 3 read-a-thons. Hi friends, welcome back to Pages in Chaos, and yes, you heard me correctly. I am participating in 3 read-a-thons this month. I have no idea what I was thinking. So I'm here to tell you just a little bit about the read-a-thons that I'm participating in and the books that I have chosen for my pile of possibilities for each of the read-a-thons. So the first read-a-thon that I'm participating in is called Cozy with a Side of Food, and this is with Hannah at the Teacher TBR in her Comfy Cozy Book Club, and I'm super excited for this one because this deals with all of the dishes that you would have typically at a Thanksgiving meal. So each of these dishes will deal with a food-related book that has some other prompt to go along with it. So I apologize now if you can hear Misty's loud purring in this video because she just has to crawl into my lap. Anyway, back to Cozy with a Side of Food. So first up is, of course, your turkey. And this is a food-related cozy that deals with a juicy plot. So for this, I am going to read The Fiesta Burger Murder. This is actually a book series that I found on one of the Stuff Your Kindle days. And yes, I'm actually going to finally start reading a book that I stuffed my Kindle with, because every time there is a Stuff Your Kindle day, I just keep adding more and more. And yeah, I think I maybe only read like 4, and that's not good. So I'm finally getting to read another one. So The Fiesta Burger Murder is about a homicide detective, Christina, who is temporarily on sabbatical, and she goes back to her little hometown, her small town that she grew up in, and she finds that somebody has been murdered in her best friend's backyard. So now she turns her detective hat back on to try to find the culprit. So the next prompt is your mashed potatoes, and that is a book that deals with food that you can read in one sitting. So for this book, I chose Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulson. This is a graphic novel. And as I'm looking through these, this just seems like the most adorable graphic novel ever. I've seen a lot of people reading this and suggesting this. So Garlic and the Vampire is the first. There's Garlic and the Witch the second. So who knows? I might even pick up the second as well. And I can't wait to read this one. So Garlic feels as though she's always doing the wrong thing. Who doesn't feel like that in their lives? I know I do. Anyway, no matter how much her friend Carrot and kind witch Angus encourage her, Garlic feels like she wants to tend her own garden where it's nice and safe. But when the village of vegetable people learn that the bloodthirsty vampire may have moved into the nearby castle, they all agree that despite her fear and self-doubt, Garlic is the obvious choice to confront him. I mean, Garlic, vampires, how adorable is that? And I just absolutely love, I opened up yesterday the very first page, and it says, "For all the anxious bulbs." So I can't wait for that. Next up is The Mac and Cheese, and this is a comfort read or a comfort cozy. So for this, I am picking Partners in Lime, which is the 6th book in the Buddy Read series that we've been doing in the Comfy Cozy Book Club. And we are continuing to follow Everly and Grady on their sleuthing and Everly's amateur sleuthing when yet another person is murdered. And this time, a good friend of hers is accused of being the killer. So I am excited for this one. This is considered a comfort read for me because I've just loved every single book in this series so far. And I think I'm going to be a little bit sad when it ends because there's only one more for next month. So yeah. Next up is Corn on the Cob, and this is a book in multiple points of view. So I'm going to go a little bit different with this one, and I'm going to choose a cozy fantasy instead of a cozy mystery. And this is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. So you have Raina and Kyanthi who want to open up a bookshop that serves tea. I mean, that's my dream. And unfortunately, Raina becomes a victim of an assassin and she gets kidnapped. So Kyanthi goes on this mission to save her and to also escape the evil queen's plans, things like that. So there is just a whole plot in here. They have to figure out how they're going to escape this queen and just get into the place where they can just open up their cozy little tea and bookshop. So I am excited for this. And of course, I love a good sprayed edges. this one's pretty. The Spell Shop was the last one that I read that had sprayed edges, and that was purple. So like purple and green are like my two go together colors. Love it. And last up is the bread or the biscuits in the dinner, and this is our group read. So for this, we are reading Drizzled with Death. This is by Jessie Crockett. So this is taking place around Thanksgiving and during a pre-Thanksgiving pancake eating contest that happens every single year. An outsider who's participating all of a sudden falls face first into the pancakes and the syrup, and they turn up dead. So Danny, who knows the police, also because one of her exes is on the police, has to work with them to figure out who this person is and exactly what happened. So I've heard quite a few good things about this already. I know there's a lot of people in our group who have started this, so this might be my next read after I pick up Garlic and the Vampire. So the second read-a-thon that I am participating in is called Historathon, and this is run by Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library and Lena at Lena's Bookshelf. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that this is the first year I'm participating in it because I haven't heard about it, even though I've been following Lindsay for quite a long time. So I'm excited to be joining in this read-a-thon for the first time this year. So Historathon is all about historical fictions, and they created this bingo board with 9 different prompts. And what I did was I just pulled books from my historical fiction shelf that intrigued me, that seemed like something I'd be in the mood to read, and I will fit them into the prompts because a lot of them will overlap and fit multiple prompts. So as I go through them, I'll let you know which prompts they could fit in. So the prompts are era exploration, famous figures, romance, mystery, social issues or cultural perspectives, a strong sense of place, a nonfiction hybrid, war and conflict, or a book that has been adapted either to a movie or a TV show. And then, of course, we do have a buddy read, which will be discussed at the end of the month for this read-a-thon. First up is the group read, and that is by Kate Quinn, The Briar Club. This takes place in 1950, so not only is this the group read, but this actually would fit into the prompt of era exploration because I don't usually read a lot of post-World War II historical fiction. I usually gravitate to World War II, maybe a little bit of the 1920s and some Victorian era or Regency era stuff. I don't really read post World War II. It just doesn't really grasp my interest in terms of my historical fiction. So this will also fulfill that prompt as well. So this takes place at a boarding house, an all-women's boarding house, and there are multiple types of women that really kind of just keep to themselves. So you have a former women's baseball player. During the war, there was the Women's Baseball League while the men were off at war. There is a woman whose father is a cop, but he also has deep ties with the mob. There's also a woman who is very deep into the McCarthy situation, McCarthyism and the Red Scare. And all these women, all of a sudden, when violence one day just breaks out and there's something that happens, they now have to deal with that, and they decide once and for all who the true enemy is. That's what it says here in the book. So this is basically going to be all about, I'm assuming, the McCarthy era, and something that happens is probably going to deal with something that deals with maybe Russian spy or something like that. That's just my prediction. But anyway, so this can fulfill a couple of prompts for me. The next book that I picked was A Burnable Book. This is a complete era exploration because this actually takes place in 1385 during King Richard II. This is like way beyond a time period that I ever really read about. I do love all things about the kings and queens of England, and there's still so much that I would love to learn about them. That was one of my major interests when I was going for my history degree in college. So this is going to be interesting. So this is dealing with Richard II and his uncle John of Gaunt, and the fact that there is this manuscript and this book that basically predicts all of the deaths of the kings and even King Richard II's assassination. So basically they have to figure out what this book is actually saying, and there's a few powerful people that know how to encrypt this book. Or basically figure out the secrets, but it falls into the wrong hands. So now they got to try to keep the king safe and figure out how they are going to prevent this assassination. So I don't know how this book is going to read. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a quick historical fiction or even just like a fiction type read, but I am still interested in. I think I got this randomly at the Dollar Tree one day. The next book that I'm going to pick up is A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Potions by Kate Kavari. This is the first in a series, and this would fulfill my historical mystery prompt. So this is about research assistant Saffron Everly, and she's determined to make a name for herself in the research world in a time where women are still seen as less than, and their academic abilities are just not up to par with men, and they don't belong. And so when she goes to a dinner party at the school, a university's professor's wife is murdered at this party, and now she is going to use her expertise in different poisons and plants and greenhouse, her greenhouse research, things like that, to try to figure out who killed this woman and how she died and all of these things, to basically prove herself, but also to clear the name of her mentor, Dr. Maxwell. So this is the book by Kate Quinn that I had on my shelves that I figured I'd pick up for this prompt. So this takes place in 1940 and then 1947. So I believe it's a dual timeline situation about 3 female code breakers during World War II. And then it's also set with the backdrop as the royal wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip, okay, and how they deal with being thrown into World War II. Now, for the historical romance, I am going to pick Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. This has been on my shelf for way too long. I got this from Book of the Month, September of 2019, and this is also part of a series. So this takes place in 1879, where Annabelle Archer, one of the first female students at Oxford, basically is trying to recruit men of influence to champion her women's suffrage movement. And her target is the Duke of Montgomery. And they get locked in a battle with rising passion and possible attraction, and Annabelle will learn just what it takes to topple a duke. So this one should be a fairly quick read, because for me, romances always go very quickly, and I can't wait to finally get this off of my TBR. Next up is The Lost Girls of Willowbrook by Ellen Marie Wiseman. I think I'm finally ready to pick this book up. So I got this book a while ago. This deals with the Willowbrook State School in Staten Island, where I live. So I'm choosing to pick this for my social issues, because this was a huge social issue at the time, figuring out what the conditions were like for not only the residents, but also the workers having to work in these situations and how they treated them. There was a whole expose done on the Willowbrook State School that basically contributed to getting it shut down. So this could fit multiple prompts for me. This could fit the social issues. It could also fit a nonfiction hybrid, because the Willowbrook State School was a real place. And then this could also fit in with mystery, because this is a fictional book about Sage Winters, who was always told that her sister died of pneumonia, and then she finds out that she was put in the state school, and she has to figure out what happened and what the deal is with this state school and what actually happened to her sister. So this one probably is going to be a little bit of a tough read, knowing how real it was. I did a whole project on the Willowbrook State School for one of my college history classes, so we'll see how I deal with this one. So this book, The Secrets of Lizzie Borden by Brandy Purdy, could fit a nonfiction hybrid, but also can fit the famous people or the historical figure prompt, because Lizzie Borden is a real person and also a famous historical figure. So this deals with exploring the events behind the crime that still today is, continuing to be a mystery. Did she not murder her parents, her father and her stepmother? So this is going to be an interesting read. I've always been captivated by this, and I am still to this day torn, because I see so much research saying that she couldn't have done it, but yet things just keep adding up. But I'm excited to see how this take is on her story, how they take this fictional look on Lizzie Borden's life. Another book that could fit multiple prompts, The Personal Librarian. This could also be a nonfiction hybrid, but also famous figure, because this is about J.P. Morgan, who opens up the Morgan Library, J.P. Morgan Bank, okay? And this is about his curator that he hires, his personal librarian, to keep his collection of manuscripts and books and artwork together and organized and things like that. But she has a secret. She has to protect this at all costs. She's actually biracial, and she is very white passing, light colored skin. So she is now going to have to keep that secret while also working for J.P. Morgan. The next book that I'm going to pick up is The Spectacular by Fiona Davis. I already read one book by her and I absolutely loved it. She writes all historical fiction about New York City, so I think this would definitely fit in with the strong sense of place, because all of her books are set in New York City and they all have to do with some type of history with New York City, and they are the key element to her story. So this, I feel like, would fit perfectly. So this is taking place in 1956. So again, this could also fulfill the prompts for era exploration. And this is about Marion Brooks, who knows that she's not going to be happy in the typical life that is supposed to be laid out for her. So she winds up getting this rare chance to audition for the Radio City Rockettes, and she takes that chance. So this is all about the story of how she navigates that, but also about the city itself, the fact that there is this serial killer on the loose called the Big Apple Bomber, and all of these things that deal with New York City at this time. So this would be a great fit for that prompt as well. Now, the last book that I'm going to pick up could be a little bit of a cheat, because technically this is a memoir, but it definitely fits into the prompt of a historical fiction adaptation, because this is what the PBS show is based off of. So this is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. James Herriot was a vet during the 1930s into the 1940s, and all of his books, so I believe there's like 8 of them total, and then in the American publication they combine them, so technically this is books 1 and 2. So all about, you know, the antics that he deals with as a vet, and also trying to navigate as a veterinarian during World War II, when that is a protected profession to help feed the troops and, you know, keep the animals alive for that. So I think I'm gonna cheat a little and use this for either my historical historical fiction that's been adapted to a show, or it could also be a nonfiction hybrid, because it is a memoir, but it reads like a fiction book. So even though it's his memoirs, it's got all dialogue in it and everything like that, as if you were reading a fiction book. So I still think I'm going to count it. The last read-a-thon that I'm participating in, I'm excited for. This is the first year that I'm participating in this, and it's actually based off of one of my favorite comfort shows, and that is the Great British Baking Show. So this read-a-thon is called the Great Bookish Baking Show, and this is going to be super fun. So all of the prompts are dealing with different ingredients, and you have to gather your ingredients, and once you have all those ingredients, you can then participate in one of the competitions. So either the signature bake, the technical challenge, or the showstopper, and read a book that would fit that prompt. Now, I don't have a pile of possibilities for this read-a-thon, because as you can see, I already have a very large pile of possibilities for Historathon, as well as Cozy with a Side of Food. So I am going to take those books and see what fits. And if I have time, I'll try to read some extra books that kind of fell off previous TBRs or previous months of a read-a-thon. Now, there is a group read for this read-a-thon that we can apply as 2 freebies towards ingredients if we feel stuck or we just can't find a book to fit a prompt, and that is Rosaline Palmer Takes a Cake. And this was described as a romance for lovers of Abby Jimenez, so I'm excited to read this one. I'm actually going to go into this one blind. I really don't know much about it, but I have seen a lot of people already on the Discord reading it, and some people have said that they read it before and they loved it, so I'm excited to read that book. Even if I am still getting all of my ingredient prompts, I'm still going to read this and maybe count it as 2 ingredient freebies. Well, that's all I have for you today. I think that is a lot of books for the month of November. We'll see how many of them I can get through and how many I can accomplish with all of the different readathons that I'm participating in. So if you are participating in any of these readathons, I'd love to hear some of the books on your TBRs, and I'd also love to hear your thoughts. If you've read any of these books or if any of these intrigue you, make sure to leave a comment down below. And wish me luck. That's all I have for now. Bye.